There's a common misunderstanding that trauma is always obvious, that it's something you can easily point to and explain. But the truth is, the most profound trauma is often the most silent. It isn't a single event. It's a quiet, heavy atmosphere you breathed in for years. You weren't hit. You weren't yelled at. On the outside, your life looked normal. But inside, there was a void. You were simply not seen. And because there was no big explosion, you learned to dismiss your own pain. But invisible wounds can still run deep. If you grew up unseen, it didn't just hurt. It quietly reshaped who you became. And if you've spent your life wondering why you feel broken when nothing bad happened, this video is for you. Growing up unseen isn't a movie drama. It's a quiet, slow-motion adaptation. Think back to when you were small. Maybe you were the kid who never complained about what was for dinner, even if you hated it. You didn't make scenes in the grocery store. People called you mature for your age. But here's the truth. You weren't born low maintenance. You learned that asking for things didn't change the outcome. Maybe you tried it first. You'd run up to show your mom a drawing, or tell your dad about a cool bug you found. But the response was always distracted. A short, "That's nice," while they looked at their phone, or a "Not now, I'm busy," before you even finished your sentence. So your brain did something brilliant and heartbreaking. It adapted. You started waiting for everyone else to speak first. You kept your best ideas to yourself because it wasn't important. You learned a dangerous survival rule. If I don't take up space, I won't have to feel the sting of being ignored. Psychology calls this childhood emotional neglect. And I want you to hear this clearly. Neglect isn't about what was done to you. It's about what was failed to be done for you. Your brain needs feedback to grow. It's like a game of tennis. You serve an emotion. You cry. You laugh. You point at a bird. And you need someone to return it with eye contact or words. When that return never comes, your nervous system makes an executive decision to save your life. First, it turns the volume down on your feelings. If feeling joy or sadness leads to the pain of being ignored, your brain says, "Let's just not feel it all." Second, it turns you into a human radar. You become a world-class expert at reading the energy in a room. You know exactly when your boss is stressed before they even speak. Not because you're psychic, but because once upon a time, your safety depended on knowing exactly what mood the adults were in before you dared to exist. Now look at your life today. You're capable and independent. People probably love having you around because you're so easy. But let's be honest about what that feels like on the inside. Do you hesitate before speaking in a meeting, replaying the sentence 5 times in your head? When someone gives you a compliment, do you immediately try to deflect it, like you're playing hot potato with something you don't think you deserve? And here's a big one. Do you feel a strange, skin-crawling discomfort when the attention is actually on you? Like when it's your birthday and people are singing to you. Do you want to melt into the floorboards? That's not just shyness. That's your nervous system remembering that being visible feels like a risk. You've become the person who supports everyone else, the one who listens for hours. But the second the conversation turns to you, you disappear. You tell yourself you don't need much. But is that true? Or is that just your oldest habit? I want you to reconsider some of your favorite traits. You might say, "I'm just a very independent person." But was that a choice? Or a wall you built because no one was coming to help? If you were fixing your own cereal and soothing your own fears at 6 years old, independence wasn't your personality. It was a necessity. You might say, "I'm just naturally quiet." But was that your nature? Or the only way to stay safe in a house that didn't have room for your noise? You learned to turn your volume down until you were almost on mute, because being too loud or too happy was met with a closed door. Psychologists call this the false self. It's not that you're being fake. You just built a personality out of survival. You became the easy friend, the chill partner, the employee who never complains, the version of you least likely to be rejected. The problem is, after 30 years of playing this role, You've forgotten the soul underneath the layers, the version of you that actually has strong opinions, righteous anger, and very loud dreams. You aren't low maintenance. You've just been trained to believe that your needs are a bother. Healing starts when you realize the real you isn't too much. You were just raised in a room that was too small. This pattern doesn't stay in your childhood home. It follows you into your friendships, your workplace, and your bed. Usually, it shows up in one of two ways. First, there's the hyper-independent route. You're the one who says, "I've got it," before anyone even offers to help. To you, needing someone feels like a dangerous weakness. You're the friend who helps everyone move. But when your own world is falling apart, you disappear for 2 weeks because you don't want to be a burden. The irony is you feel a quiet, bitter resentment. You wonder why no one sees how hard you're struggling. But the truth is, you never let them in. You've built a cage made of, "I'm fine," and now you're lonely inside it. Then there's the over-explainer. If the independent person is a wall, you are a floodgate. You're so afraid of being overlooked that you give way too much. You send long paragraphs to explain a simple text. You apologize for things that aren't your fault, like the weather or someone else's bad mood. You seek reassurance like it's oxygen, asking, "Are you mad?" over and over. But the moment you get it, you feel a wave of shame. You feel dramatic just for wanting to be seen. Both paths, the wall and the floodgate, come from the same root. A nervous system that learned connection is unstable. This is the hardest part. How do you grieve something that never actually happened? If you had a loud trauma, you'd have a story to tell. But since your story is about silence, you probably spend a lot of time gaslighting yourself. You tell yourself, "Others had it worse. My parents weren't alcoholics. They worked 2 jobs. They kept a roof over my head." And sure, maybe they did. But here's the thing. A plant doesn't just need not to be stepped on to grow. It needs water and light. Emotional attention is the water and light for a human child. Without it, you don't die. You just survive. You grow up, but you don't exactly bloom. You're like a plant that grew in a basement, functional but a little pale, always reaching for a sun that isn't there. Grieving the nothing means admitting that it hurt to be overlooked. It means looking at those memories where you did something great and had no one to tell, or those nights you cried quietly in your room so you wouldn't disturb the house, and saying, "That mattered." It means stopping the habit of minimizing your own life. When you say it wasn't that bad, you aren't being strong or resilient. You're just continuing the neglect. You're doing to yourself what was done to you, looking at your own pain and deciding it's not worth the attention. Dismissing your history doesn't fix it. It just keeps you stuck in the dark, waiting for a permission slip to feel that you'll never actually get from anyone else. You have to write it for yourself. So how do you stop disappearing? It doesn't start with you shouting for attention. It's smaller and honestly scarier. It starts with self-differentiation. Basically, it's learning where you end and someone else begins. It's realizing you aren't an extension of other people's moods. It's saying, "My partner is in a bad mood. That is their weather. I do not have to carry their umbrella for them." You don't have to fix the room just to feel safe in it. This practice shows up as 3 things. First, naming the emotion. When you feel that knot in your chest, don't shove it down. Say it out loud, even if you're alone. "I am feeling lonely," or "I am actually angry." By naming it, you become the witness you never had. Second, the 3-second rule. Before you apologize for bothering someone or existing too loudly, count to 3 and let the silence hang. You'll realize the apology wasn't necessary. You aren't a burden. You're a person having a conversation. Third, staying in the room. When you feel the urge to shrink, to go quiet or look at your phone, stay present. Keep your shoulders back and take a breath. Every time you express a need, you are rewiring your brain. You are teaching your nervous system a brand new truth. Visibility is survivable. You aren't that helpless child anymore. You are an adult who can handle the light. If you were that child, the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one who learned that being small was the only way to be safe, I want you to hear this and let it sink in. You weren't invisible because you lacked value. You were invisible because the people around you, for whatever reason, didn't have the tools, the capacity, or the emotional space to truly see you. You were a masterpiece sitting in a room with the lights turned off. It is not your fault that you weren't mirrored. It's not your fault that you had to raise yourself in silence, but it is your privilege now, as an adult, to finally be the one who walks over to the switch and turns the light on. So, I'll leave you with this question to carry with you today. Where in your life are you still waiting for someone else to notice you, instead of finally giving yourself the permission to just exist? Stop waiting for the invitation to be seen. You are already here. If this resonated with you, if you've spent your life being the low-maintenance one, I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Let's make this space the one place where you don't have to be quiet. Speak up,